Well, I got this van back for more work, but it's not rework, it's actually extra work. I did a good job the first time, apparently. I'm installing new seats in the back because the old bench seats just aren't doing it. And, well, these seats are way cooler. They got a footrest and stuff. They're from a Sienna van, but I'm not just installing the seats. I'm doing something kind of cool, and that's what's in that box. Swivel base, which will effectively turn those seats into captain's chairs now. I just need to figure out a way to mount those seats to this, and then mount this to the side of the van. I'm going to try to utilize those factory bolting locations to just spread them out as much as possible. So probably with the transfer plate of some sort to have different bolts on top of here. But anyways, that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. The plan here is to build some sort of frame that will tie into those factory locations and just relocate the bolts further out. That way I can, that way I'll have that option later down the road. I can either do that or figure out a way to just make plates that bolt straight on top of these and then are removable. I don't really like that idea as much because it just seems like it'd be kind of flimsy, and I'd rather have a little more stout situation going on, especially if with your back seats. So the other thing is it needs to have enough space for those footrests to come out and for these to be back all the way when those are out. So just two things I'll have to figure out as I go. And I guess what I'll start by doing is slide this all the way back. Twining in a bit. Cool chair, I'd say. Go ahead and position this out here. We're already way outside of the mounting holes there, so looks like I'll be making custom mounts for this thing. Somebody at the factory didn't take a good look at this one, and that really hurt. I'm gonna figure out how to make that mount to these seats. So my plan here is I'm basically gonna make a not sliding rail system. I'm gonna go ahead and make some crossbars out of the same rectangular tubing because my experience tells me that the simpler I keep this structure, the stronger it's gonna be, and there's gonna be people sitting on this. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and build the crossbars to have that interface with here, and then I'm gonna have some length in the back. That way I have an offset. Again, keeping it simple. I'm gonna go ahead and put those same bars across here and bolt them on, and then those bars are going to be then welded to this seat. That way, because I'll just ditch these mounts altogether because they're not really gonna be able to be integrated in any sort of like manner that I trust, at least not nothing that I can come up with. So that'll be the mount for these guys. And then other than that, yeah. Like I said, just keeping it as simple as humanly possible. That way I know it's going to be strong because you don't want your seat flying forward because seatbelts aren't really going to help you if the seat isn't mounted. So I'm kind of cheating a little bit. What I'm doing is I'm just using the bracket to square everything up and get my distance. I'm going to go ahead and take measurements off of here to make sure those are at the same length and throw a magnetic square to hold the cross pieces on and tack everything into place, and then go double check and make sure it all fits. So what I went ahead and did was I just built a rectangular frame, and then I marked out where the holes are going to be up front and then where that cross member needs to be in the back to interface with this, and then the seat's going to go right about here. I might add another cross member just for stability, but the seat rails are going to be riding on this anyways, so I don't really think that's necessary. I'll see though. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So I think it's due to the way the floor is laid out, but for some reason these are just barely biting in there. And yeah, I think, like I said, it's because the span of this whole thing, it's not the same as just them tucked down there like I thought it would be. So what I'm going to have to do is I think I'm going to go ahead and cut these tacks and then weld this on slightly offset lower, because I can get this thing down a little lower than the side rails can go, I believe. Maybe I'll tear up the carpet and see what's underneath it real quick just to get an idea if there's anything I can remove there, but I think that's what I'm going to end up going with. What I've gone ahead and done to mount the seat to the rotating portion is I have these two cross pieces, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt these into here, And then I'm going to take this whole assembly and weld it onto that chair. That way the bracket for the entire captain's chair spinny bit can be unbolted and it's not permanently mounted. And that'll just give it a little more, you can return it back to stock if you want to. The way I'm going to do that, like I said, is I'm going to go ahead and I marked out these holes, squared everything up, and I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill these holes. I made sure that everything was as close to even on both sides as I could possibly get it, and then like I said, I'm just going to make sure that that all fits up there, and we're good to go. So I just took a measurement here to make sure this side was good, and then the most important measurement was here, make sure that was good, and everything checks out. So should be good to go to mount this thing. So I went ahead and welded the studs to this because this part's going to be rotating and I needed the clearance. My original plan was to have them going through that piece, but I changed that up. I just had a couple of tacks holding them in place, that way they're easy to cut out if I have to. And basically I'm going to use this piece as a jig to weld up the bracket on both of the seats, and then I'm going to modify that rotating bracket as well. I'm going to take it apart after I test fit this one to make sure everything works on the inside seat. And then I'll basically copy everything I've done so far. I already got all my pieces cut out for everything I need to do, so I'm just gonna go ahead and prove it and then weld everything up, and I'm good to go for the captain's chairs. This is very satisfying to me. It fits up perfectly, and turns out I will have as much room as I thought I would to get under this seat and access these studs even when it's in the van, because it's going to have a little bit of extra clearance in the van even, so that's great. With that footrest up, this will be super easy to bolt on once it's in the actual van, so I'm happy about that. Definitely going to enjoy the process here because it's not going to be a pain in the ass. Now I just need to figure out how to not catch that seat on fire while I tack those bars in place and then throw little welds on them. Sacrificial welding apron should do the trick. I went ahead and clamped everything up and just used the other bracket as the jig for the new bracket. I will have to offset these holes slightly for the one on the driver's side just because the wall's in the way. There's less space on that side, but it's still going to work out just fine. Well, this really sucks, but since these bolts are too long to clearance that little spinny bit, now I gotta cut them all down to make them shorter. So that's annoying, but that's what I'm gonna be doing for the next probably an hour. So I got everything finished up, not finished up, got everything, positioned where I want it. I know it's all gonna work out. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish everything up, finish welding. I'm gonna go ahead and put some plates over the front of this to kind of pretty it up a little bit. Grind off any rough edges around where hands might be, and then this thing's good to go. So I'm almost done. All right, I've got these brackets painted. I got all the parts that I cut cleaned up, anywhere your fingers might be getting. Now I'm just going through and double nutting all of these studs just to really make sure that that nut doesn't vibrate itself loose. And it's time to install. Chairs positioned in there and they're looking pretty nice. So I went ahead and relocated the bench seat that was about there, and I moved it back about 2 rows, and these brackets weren't the same and they didn't line up exactly, but something that was pretty neat, I was originally going to try to fabricate my own sort of bracket for these brackets to bolt into, but Ford was kind enough to actually include holes. They just weren't tapped, so went ahead and tapped them myself with my handy dandy little 8mm tap that I had to borrow from Dave's shop because I don't have any metric taps because I'm not a communist. But anyways, this actually went pretty smooth, so this thing's just about done with the I think that build went pretty well. The seats turned out great. They all work. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Other than that, have a wonderful rest of your day. God bless.